everyone, I'm John Raffis and welcome to Treyarch. If you were able to join us for the multiplayer or blackout betas this summer, you became aware that frequent communication and transparency was very important to us. Always getting that feedback and letting you know how the game was progressing along the way. Today is really a special broadcast because it's an extension of that philosophy. Think of this as a Reddit post, but with pictures. So to do that and to catch you up on what we have been doing with multiplayer and blackout since the betas, we are joined by Tony Flame and Matt Schranz. And these guys are here to talk to us about multiplayer. In a little while, we will catch up with the Lord, Vonderhaar, to talk a little bit about blackout. But gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Are you stoked?
I'm super stoked to be able to talk to everybody, the fans, about what we've been up to. We've been having a ton of fun playing the game, what kind of changes we've been working on, and we actually have some footage to show as well.
I mean, the team's really been making quite a few updates.
Oh yeah, all over the place. Yeah. New content, a lot of polishing touches on what's been there, and of course balance fixes, so there's lots to talk about.
All right. Well, I mean, since the beta, I mean, we've basically seen 8 additional maps or so previewed on our social channels. We've seen glimpses of new maps like Morocco and Militia, and so let's just get right into it and start talking weapons. Tony, tell us a little bit about what's in store on the weapons front.
Well, we've got a few new weapons coming in. One of them is going to be a new sniper rifle. So we know our fans love bolt-action sniper rifles. We've got another one to add to the selection. It's called the Outlaw. Nice. So the Outlaw its unique gameplay is going to be that it rechambers very quickly. So you can get that second shot on target if you got a hit marker or didn't end up finishing them off with that first shot. Now, of course, to compensate for that, it's going to be doing some lighter damage. You're going to have to hit higher up on the body to get that one-shot kill. It's a lot of fun to play with, very different from the other sniper rifles.
All right. So, if I'm not mistaken, we saw Nomad running around with the Hades, correct?
Yeah, the Hades is a new LMG, and you saw it looked different. There were some fans who commented on what that looked like in the trailer. It's a very unique LMG in that it has a very high fire rate. It's actually kind of a run-and-gun LMG. It's meant to be fired from the hip. Its attachments support that. You're seeing the crossbar operator mod here, which allows you to get tight accuracy while you can move around at full speed. So that is what you were seeing in the trailer there with Nomad was actually the bullet canister. That's where the bullets go.
Okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the team has also brought in a new 3-round burst pistol.
Of course, yes. That's been a staple for the last few Black Ops games. A 3-round burst pistol. It's called the RK7 Garrison.
Okay.
And that is going to be a classic high fire rate pistol. It's going to kind of sit in the middle between the Stripe and the Mozu, have its own unique gameplay, so that'll really round out the pistol class. So there's a lot of good options there as a secondary.
Okay. Well, let's move on to weapon tuning. Tony, talk to us about sort of what's been going on in the tuning front.
So over the last several games, we've been reining in the way that our approach to tuning weapons, getting tighter and tighter balance, and that's continued. We feel like we have got a really good, tight balance across weapons for launch. It's different this time because attachments are different on every weapon, so that's caused us to look at things differently, but it's also caused us to look at things more carefully. So we're really happy with where we're going to be at launch, and of course, the first few weeks, we'll be looking at any outliers and dialing things in to get the balance dialed in just right for the remaining weeks of October and into November.
Well, one of the new things that we're seeing in Black Ops 4 is the inclusion of operator mods. If I'm not mistaken, the team made a couple updates on that front too.
Yeah, absolutely. There are new operator mods that were on weapons that weren't actually in the beta. We're still working on getting those functional. So the shotguns have some changes to the operator mod. We have the Stray Lock, which is the Koshka is a sniper rifle that the operator mod was available in the beta. At the time, we called it the Speed Center. We had to get a Russian name for it. It's a Russian sniper rifle, so we'll call it the Stray Lock now. And what that does is it gives snipers increased accuracy while they're going ADS. Now, this wasn't completely dialed in at the time of the beta, but we wanted to get it in players' hands because we know that the best snipers in the world are out there. They're not sitting here in the studio. And of course, they didn't disappoint by showing us how powerful they could be with that. So we've dialed it in. Now, rather than as soon as scoping in, getting that super tight accuracy, it's going to come in over the course of the scope-in period. So we'll be able to tune that and get that to just the right point so that it's balanced, and we'll see how players respond to it and get it dialed in just right. So it's going to be a lot more skill-based than it was in the beta.
Got it. Let's talk about the SOG 9mm operator mod.
Yeah, really excited about this one. So we've of course done dual wield before, but it's always a single attachment, and it's never really able to be as awesome as we want it to be. We want dual wield to be really powerful. We want you to feel really cool using it, and like you're standing a really good chance, and it's viable, and it's viable in a way that's balanced as well. So we were able to do that with operator mod. You have to pay extra points for it through the operator mod system, but we get it to make it extra powerful. We put it on the gun that it makes the most sense on, the SOG. It's the most compact submachine gun that we have in the game. So we have those dual-wield SOGs, which will be the operator mod for launch, and they're going to be a ton of fun to play with.
All right. Let's come back to the Outlaw and kind of take a look at sort of how it works with and without and with the operator mod. Why don't you talk us through what we see here?
So this is going to show how you've really got to get kind of a headshot or upper body shot to kill there, and you're going to have a single shot with the Outlaw at its base level with regular attachments. Now when you put the operator mod on it, it's going to leverage that fast cycling nature of this, and it's going to turn into a 3-round burst sniper rifle. So you're going to be able to get 3 shots off very quickly. You hit 2 of those and you're taking down your target. So it's very fun, it's very powerful. It's going to be balanced out by the fact that, as you can see there, you got limited rounds. So you're only going to get a few bursts before you're out of ammo. You're going to have to be on target, you're going to have to aim up. But of course, it's an operator mod, very powerful. You've got to spend into it and create a class.
Tell me about the Mag 12.
Mag 12 is we changed up its operator mod. So in the beta, the operator mod would wound players that it hit. We got feedback, and we had even internally, people were feeling like this was frustrating. I got shot once and now I can't heal. So we changed it up so that the Dragon's Breath now hits the players, and it's going to do a damage over time that's going to burn them. So what that's going to force the player to do is make a decision. I just got hit. I have to heal immediately or I'm going to die. And that makes it a lot more dynamic in terms of the back and forth between what the shotgun player is going to do at that point. They can press the action, and they know that either that player is going to just stick it out and take the damage and try and fight back, or they're going to have to heal if they want to survive. So that kind of cat and mouse gameplay is a lot more interesting, a lot more balanced. So the Dragon's Breath is going to be improved in that way.
Well, also leans into sort of the tactical nature of the game.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. NVIR optic?
Yes, it's a new optic. It was not seen in the beta. It's our night vision and thermal combination. So there's some maps where enemies can take advantage of the lighting and hide in the shadows. This is going to help you find them in those maps. So it's available on a variety of guns. You can use it on different maps to combat that tactic. So it rounds out the optic selection for Black Ops 4.
Outstanding. All right, so quite a bit happening on the weapons front. How about we talk score streaks? Matt, where are we at?
Well, to start off, we didn't want to kind of put all our cards on the table in the beta.
I just save a little bit.
You gotta save a little bit.
Yeah.
Leave one more. So we have 3 new score streaks that will be in the lineup for launch.
Okay.
That's going to be the drone squad.
Okay. Well, here, let's take a look at the drone squad. Tell us what we're looking at here.
So the drone squad is a squad of drones, as the name might have led on.
That's a squad of drones.
Yes.
Squad of drones.
Yes,
Got it.
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Let's play on this.
So you'll see there, you activate the drone squad, and you can see the lead drone there, and then the lead drone will have 2 little winged buddy drones. So this is a mid-tier score streak. It's going to sit around the sentry gun and the tac chopper level. We're still kind of working through how many kills we want this thing to get per use. But it's fun. You call it in. You've got 3 drones that will follow you throughout the map and help you take down any enemies that may try to put up a fight against you.
Got it. But that's not all. Team also included the new Sniper's Nest score streak.
Right.
Score streak.
It's not a snore streak.
Yeah, there we go.
This is the opposite of snore streak.
I think I just got my new player ID right there.
So there we see the Sniper's Nest. Sniper's Nest are 2 professional snipers aboard a helicopter You call this support in, and they're going to fly in. You're going to have a sniper on each door of the helicopter with a high-powered 50 cal sniper, and it's one shot, one kill. They're going to fly around and rain down from above. On the ground, we've done quite a bit of work to make that as as least frustrating as possible, as they can be as a one-shot kill. So we've got some sniper glint when they target you. We've got lasers on their snipers. So really, when this thing gets called out by the enemy team, you don't want to be caught outside, and you really don't want to be caught outside not moving, because if you're not moving and they have line of sight on you, they're going to laser.
Yeah.
I think we'll be following up with the YouTube channel for those snipers. Make sure to smash that like button for those guys.
Yeah, they each do have a YouTube channel.
Do they really?
Yeah, they do.
Great.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about their Twitter handles here in a second. And then there's a popular score streak that's making its return.
That is the Dart. The Dart was a favorite of mine and many others in Black. Example of domination on Morocco. We play test internally all the time. We were seeing that spawns were a little too sticky and pulling you to your flag and sending you down paths that didn't pass TV as optimally as we'd like. So we made some changes. Felt 2,000 times better.
Great.
So yes, obviously we're always going to have to work through spawns, and there's going to be different scenarios that people get into, but I'm very happy with them right now, and I hope that people are happy with them next Friday.
Really winding down here, last on our list is time associated with being able to heal.
We've actually done, there's quite a lot of changes in there we've made. We've made sure that when you switch to heal and when you switch back to your gun comes out quicker. You switch to heal faster. So the whole process is smoother and faster before across the different weapons. It's part of the tactical nature of the game, right? After a firefight, so a lot of times you have to both reload and heal. So we want to make sure that those could happen smoothly, and if you chose one or both, that it felt like the right amount of time. Yeah, and in terms of stim shot, we saw stim shot maybe being a little bit too crutch of a gear, so we've dialed that back a little bit. So stim shot's a little bit more reasonable, so that you can't, the guy who you're just got to fight with isn't going to heal instantly, right? There's going to be some time there. As well as the normal heal will be a little more balanced. So those have come a little bit closer together, which will give people a chance to open up the breadth in the gear options, as well as just making healing in general feeling better in the game.
Well, guys, that's really kind of the end of the laundry list. We've gone through quite a bit. Anything that you want to add just to kind of wrap it up today?
Yeah, one last thing actually. We talked a bit about weapons and operator mods earlier, but I did want to address the community feedback that we got about weapons from the beta and what we've done since then.
Great point.
So there's a couple big points that we got from the community. First big one is always an important factor in Call of Duty balance: assault rifles versus submachine guns. So in weekend 1, we saw submachine guns were a little bit more dominant, and we made some tweaks. Minor tweaks, really. We actually didn't think, we thought they were going to get us right to the point that we wanted. Weekend 2, assault rifles were quite a bit stronger. So we saw that shift in balance. It's actually really good because we know exactly which changes we made to make that balance. It means the balance is very tight right now. Little subtle changes can affect that. So we know what we did. We're gonna find that middle ground so that the balance between assault rifles and submachine guns is right where we want it to launch. One of the standout guns from the beta was the ABR, and we saw people doing really well with that. Now that gun was intended for very highly skilled players to excel with. In the right hands, it was supposed to be amazing, and it was, but it was also amazing in just about anyone's hands. and that's not what we want.
Saw John using it.
I know. There's people around the studio who are not supposed to be doing so good at that gun. So yeah, we're taking that down a few notches. We don't want that thing to be overpowered again at launch, so we're going to make sure that it's not, and then we'll get it to where it needs to be. Hopefully it's there on day one. If not, we'll get it there shortly afterwards. And then lastly, sniper rifles were actually overly effective in the beta. They were just a little bit off target, and we're trying to figure out why, especially the Koshka. And it turns out we found
Because I was shooting it.
yeah, so one of the things, we work on Call of Duty a lot. Sometimes people call out like, hey, how come this thing that used to work before is, in a beta, like it's not, because these whole systems are constantly changing. The foundation, the systems that we use to make the game, the tech is constantly changing. So in this case, we changed the ways in which our character models come together and the way that they're built, and that ended up exposing a bug about hitboxes. So it was a somewhat rare bug. It wasn't happening all the time. About 10% of the time, sniper rifles, there was a location on the body where they were killing where they weren't supposed to kill. So sniper rifles were a little bit too good. It was happening on both console and PC. So we fixed that to get the sniper rifle balanced. And then even beyond that, on PC, we're doing some specific sniper rifle tuning. Obviously on a mouse and keyboard, it's a lot easier to snipe. It's different than console. So we've got to get that dialed in for PC. We're looking closely at that for post-beta launch. One last little tidbit. LMGs, we're always trying to find a good spot for LMGs. And in the beta, people didn't seem to be digging the LMG too much. It's a tough weapon class to get right from weapon balance. We want it to be powerful, but we don't want it to be too much like any other weapon class. So one of the things we've got a couple strong LMGs coming to the game, which we talked about earlier, the Hades and the BKM. But one of the new attributes that we're going to give to LMGs is that you are going to have very little to almost no flinch while you're ADS with an LMG. It's a very heavy gun. We want you to be able to stay on target, right? So this lets LMGs have kind of their own niche that no other gun has. Once you post up, you stop, you get into ADS, and you got that gun up there. Now, if anyone messes with you, that's their mistake, right? It's going to take you a little bit more time as an LMG user to move around and to get into position, and that's where SMGs and AR and other weapon classes have the advantage. So we're really excited about how that's been playing out. Can't wait to get the community on it. If there's people who feel like any sort of amount of flinch is too much for them, then they might want to try LMGs.
Nice. Well, I thought we were done with our list. It turns out
we're never done. No, yeah. And there's certainly a heck of a lot more that the team's been working on that we haven't talked about today. That people are just going to have to play the game to find out for themselves.
Any last words on multiplayer?
Can't wait to play it.
All right. Cool.
I know. I can't wait to play it. When's the next play test? We've been having a blast. Yeah.
Awesome. Tony, Matt, thank you very much for coming by. We are going to talk Blackout with Lord Von der Haar shortly. But first, we're going to take a little break. See you in a minute.
Approaching the drop zone.
Locked and loaded. Good to go. Lighting him up.
Further collapse expected. Evac to safe zone.
All right, welcome back. Now that we're sufficiently pumped after having watched the Blackout trailer, I have with me, fresh off of a European press tour, the one, the only, Lord David Vonderhaar. David, welcome.
Hello. How are you?
Doing all right. How about
Man,
yourself? Studio design director.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Is that? I thought you changed that title.
I am Dungeon Master.
What did they do to you in Sweden?
Man, Sweden's amazing. It's amazing. I'd still be there if I could, but they said you got to come back and do this thing.
Yeah. Well, there's some things to get to. So we're catching up on all things Blackout, all the updates made since the beta. And we are ticking down the list one at a time, and I think that everyone wants us to start with armor.
Armor? Right off the bat?
Right off the bat.
Fans love talking about armor. So, look, we take armor feedback seriously, the same way we did in the MP beta, and there's a lot to talk about here. So let me just sort of go through all the details, if you don't mind. We have level 3 armor spawning with reduced rate overall in the world. So you're going to find this inside of care packages, supply drops,
Okay.
and mostly there. Now you can still find it in the world, but it's going to be pretty rare. But we also did a lot of tuning. But the sort of the new thing that no one's seen yet that I'm pretty excited to show people is when you have armor on, there's above your health bar is like the state of the armor.
Sure.
Think of it as a health bar for the armor, for lack of a better term. So you have real kind of microscopic detail on the state of your armor. Now the icon's still there and the icon still degrades, but if you want to know how well you're doing, or you could see, hey, my teammate doesn't have any armor, or hey man, your armor's busted up, let's find you some new armor. And that's just sort of the start of where armor goes from here. We have a lot of great ideas, and I think we're going to talk about them a little later in the show.
All right. So let's move on to muzzle flash.
Yeah. Okay, muzzle flash. So the fans gave me a hard time, let's say.
An abundance of constructive feedback.
An abundance of constructive feedback. So, did we do anything to muzzle flashes in first person for release? Yes, we did.
All right.
Okay, so look, let's talk about what this means. So, we did muzzle flashes and we finalized them with a lot of improved visibility. So, I misunderstood that question, to be fair. I thought they were talking about third-person muzzle flashes. They were talking about first-person muzzle flashes. Now, we don't want muzzle flashes to impact your field of view, right? That's not something that could be not what we want. What we want is for people to see your muzzle flashes when you're in a dark room. We don't necessarily want the muzzle flashes to get in your way. Muzzle flashes, like all art assets, go through a couple of different iterations. And some guns have muzzle brakes, right? So a muzzle brake's cool because it controls sort of where the flash comes from. And there's the realism of how a muzzle brake works, and then there's game realism, and we had to kind of figure out the differences between those two so they weren't inside your faces. So they're not as bright overall, they don't have as much opacity, or they have more opacity so you can kind of see correctly. And overall, I think fans can be pretty happy. I don't think muzzle flashes are going to get in your way of combat. That's not something we would do on purpose, and those will be in on day one.
Awesome, awesome. So there seemed to be another concern about how dark the screen got when you were hurt, and it seems as if the complaint was similar when you were taking damage within the collapse. What sort of updates has the team made on this one?
Thanks for asking me about this one, because in the beta, when you were outside, say in the collapsed area, you were getting what we would call a damage tick. So it's like tick, 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 and it was a lot. It was intense. That's what we would call a status effect. Now, it's sort of like being flashed or blinded in that you have to do something special for every different type of kind of damage you can take. Now, in the case of the beta, the one that we were using was simply the same thing that happens when you get hit by a bullet. Well, you're not getting hit by a bullet, so why do you have directional indication ammos, right? So that presentation was the wrong presentation for being outside in sort of the collapsed area, but we did something specific. So now when you're out there, you won't have the direction indicators. We actually brought down sort of how much the darkness that it would hit with you, how much red there was overall. So we heard about this loud and clear on Reddit. So it's a good opportunity for us to say, we know about that. We knew going into the beta that we still had work to do on that. But that's all fixed up now. So when you're outside and you're in the collapsed area and you're taking damage, it'll feel appropriate to being outside and won't feel like someone's hitting you with a bullet every second and a half or something.
You know, it's super quick. I talked to Tony and Matt about this, and I'd love to get your thoughts before we kind of head down the list of other things. Tell me about how important feedback was for you from the player community, just sort of what that really meant to you and the team, and essentially how that helped steer things not only during the beta, but in this time since.
Now, so particularly since, right? So this is the best part. Like, so we have a long list of things we want to get to.
Yeah.
Right? There's features in the game that we still had work to do on. There are features that we didn't have in the game yet that we had planned. So what the beta data tells us, and what the feedback from the beta data tells us, is it really helps sort of prioritize that work for us, because at the end of the day, you just have a bunch of stuff to design and a bunch of stuff to construct and a bunch of stuff to get in the game. The order of events or operations, it's not, you know, it's what we think is best, but once you get the community involved, then it becomes, oh, well, obviously we should maybe take this one that's currently 7 on our list and move it up to 3. So that was particularly helpful since the beta. And then just more macro than that, of course, is what about the stuff you don't know about?
Yeah.
Right? It's a giant game, right? We look at everything. We spend a lot of time trying to think about everything very carefully, but it's very possible that you just might not catch something that, you know, someone who's played back to back to back to back calls out. Like, we don't play test the way people play. I mean, there are fans who didn't go home or go to school or they just played Blackout from the time it was turned on to the time it was turned off. And that's something that we don't get to do because we have to actually make the thing. So it's good. It's good to see what kind of bubbles up.
Yeah.
And I really love how the mood of it kind of shifts over the week and kind of see what stays with people. Because first impressions, man. First impressions are important, but they don't always tell the truth, right? So it's good to have the first impression. It's good to see if that still resonates. I know you want to play more beta, but we're get the game out soon.
Yeah. Well, even talking to Tony and Matt, like there also seemed like there was a great deal of very positive feedback too. I mean, like everything was just incredibly constructive. Yeah,
I found, and you know, by the way, the work that you guys have put in on the social community team, thank you guys, to sort of get this stuff organized has been super helpful. Like, it lets me focus on solving the problems and not trying to find the problems to solve or make sure I don't miss anything. So as a team, we're very grateful for all the investment that the studio's put in to being able to do this and to talk to fans, just sort of just talk, don't have to overthink, you know, and finding those things. So many thanks to all of you who are helping out with that.
Let's get back to the list. I know one of the things that fans pointed out during the beta was headphone use, particularly in the staging area.
Yeah, gosh. All right, let's talk audio. So we did a lot of bug fixing since the beta. So I think really, let me talk about the big one, right? The big fix. So there was this problem that sound occlusion was not working. And let me describe sound occlusion to you. You and I are very close together, but, and we should sound like we're very close together. And occlusion is the idea, let's put up an imaginary wall. I'm not sounding quite as loud as you.
We're in a room with carpeting and ceiling tiles. There's a certain...
So you'd have this weirdness where a guy directly above you would be closer to you, but he's also got a floor or ceiling.
It's like there was a wall here, and then there's some dude on the other side of that wall on a conference call.
That's not ever happens. It's our live stream studio. So that wasn't working right.
Yeah.
Right. So guys above you would sound close to you, and they were technically close to you, but there was a ceiling between you, so the audio should be hit by that. So the guys who were, you know, you can see would not be as loud as the guy above you. So that had to get fixed, and it got fixed. But that's not all. Lots of tuning. So among the sound occlusion, we made it so that players who are on your team, their footsteps are naturally quieter. We did a lot of work on dead silence. We did a lot of work on awareness, and then mostly, right, the game wasn't done. You cannot do a final audio mix on the game until it's further along. So, you know, the final audio mix, you know, sets that thing. I know what you're talking about. When I get into the pregame state, I think 99 people want to come punch me. So that was loud.
But what about in the game?
No, they can't. They can't do that. I'm too good. I'm too good. So look, then finally, this one's important. So we've done this in the last game. It's in this one. Go into your audio. Look at your options for audio and settings, because we always do different sort of mix presets, including a headphone mix. And we know a lot of people play on gaming headphones. Look, I can tell you the audio department here is super serious, and they reference and mix at reference volumes. I mean, I don't know how any of them can still hear. It is loud. And you're gonna find a mix preset that's really gonna work for your play style, and there'll be a headphone setting there too.
I'll be honest, I was never really into presets, and Jake turned me on to some of the audio presets.
Is Jay the same guy who's on a conference call? It's too loud?
If you hear that muffled example of occlusion coming from the other
Let's
side.
go get that guy.
But yeah, check them out. That's good advice. All right, speaking of additional tuning, pickups. Pickups was a big one.
Yeah. So of course, there's a lot of things going on here. You can see in this video that you're not looking down anymore. So you can just run through, you can pick up items as fast as you can. There's currently, I think it's gonna make launch, hopefully, a setting that allows you to, just pick it up with a tap and not have to hold it. We're actually even debating if that should be the default and holding should be the option. It's a conversation. It's in the game. I've seen it working, and I think it's going to be there on day one for you. And I think that's one of the largest things that came up is how come I can't just tap? And of course, I've been on record with this. I'm like, well, have you tried to be in a gunfight and need to reload? And you can't because you happen to be strafing around a high density area, and that can be frustrating on its own. I had that experience. So it cannot be any faster as a hold, and it's at least a game option. And we're still talking about whether it should be the default and what else to do. I mean, we know that people want to play Blackout. They want the ability to customize what that experience is like for them. That's the simple way of putting it. So we're going through that in our brains, trying to figure out all the places, not just with item and inventory management, but that's a suggestion that was direct from the community, and we've directly dealt with that by putting it in the options menu, and then we'll see if it's even the default and what other things we can do to improve that experience.
All right. While we're on the subject of how you use your hands, ladders. Let's talk about how easy it is to get on and off ladders.
Have you seen the new ladder stuff? Roll the tape, guys. This stuff is really great. So actually, many thanks to Matt Schrontz and Kathan. These are two important people who really drove this experience through. So look, you got some really tall places in Blackout, right? So the ladders are more important, especially coming down them. So it's a lot easier to get on ladders. You sort of head towards them, and if you're looking at them correctly, then you'll snap onto them, you can slide down them fast. So the ladder experience is much improved over the beta. And I think Blackout fans need that, because I mean, there's 3 and 4 and even 5-story ladders in Blackout.
Next on our list, fall damage.
Yeah, whoops. Okay, fall damage. That was not what we wanted to do. That's fixed. I found, I got this video, this guy showed me he was just jumping off of a rock. So he's running through the turbine area.
Yeah.
Jumps up on the rock, jumps off the rack, jumps up on the rock, jumps off the rock, and takes fall damage, and I went, oh, sorry. So that was a little aggressive.
Put that on the list.
Put that on the list. That was actually a very easy fix. It's done.
Yeah. There were, during the beta, people had expressed interest in wanting to see a little more information on their teammates' kills and downs. What have we done? What has the team done on that front?
3 things. Let me take you through, and these are all in your HUD, so actually when you're playing. So the first thing was, like, downs weren't even in the, what we call obituary, with the fans sometimes call the kill feed, same thing. So when someone's down, you'll actually see that they down them. That's what we call obituary updates. Then we also have the HUD notifications. Those are in the bottom center of your screen, a HUD notification. And when you down somebody or kill somebody, or if somebody else cleans up the guy that you put into the down state, it'll tell you right there that they were down. It'll tell you right there that they were killed. It even tells you how much damage you did on them when you put them in the down state. So obituary / kill feed, HUD notifications, and then this is the big one that was trying to get in for a while. So in the top right corner of your screen, there's a bunch of stats. The 2 stats that are most important in this case are kills and cleanups. So a kill, I knock you into the down state, you're crawling around. Somebody comes along and finishes you off, I get the kill because I put you in the down state. A cleanup is what you did to that guy. There's a guy in the down state, doesn't matter how he got there. You put the final shots on him. Kills and cleanups, those are kind of the 2 principal stats. You're always gonna know how many kills you have. You're always gonna know how many cleanups you have. So you're always gonna feel rewarded for eliminating somebody from the game, whether it's actually a proper kill credit or just a cleanup credit. And those stats are the 2 primary gameplay stats. Then of course there's how many players are alive, and then if someone's spectating. So those 4 things will appear in the top right-hand corner of your screen. So between obituary / kill feed, the HUD notifications in the center, and then the stats in the top right corner of your HUD, those 3 things are gonna really help people understand and give them what they need to know. Did I kill that guy? Did I not kill that guy? Did you kill him? Right?
And all of this moves us in the direction of updates made to the after-action report.
Yeah, so very important. The after-action report, was something that we worked on a lot, sort of post the beta before the ship. And all these stats are reflected back to you at the end of the game in the after action report. And what you can do with that one is, in fact, show what your team also did. How many times did you have this question in mind? How many kills did you get? Right? So you don't have to ask that question because you're going to be able to just check the after action report because you're after the action. So that's what happens when you die. Really, when you're eliminated from the game, you can look at that stuff along with other things. But that one, those stats and your team's performance will be reflected there on launch.
Well, if post-launch or beta is any indication of how my post-launch will go, I'll have plenty of opportunity to spend time looking at that.
I'll take screenshots of you getting 0 kills.
You won't have to wait long for one. All right, so talk to me a little bit about merits and leveling up.
All right, let's talk about how progression works in Blackout.
Yep.
So this is also inside of your after action report. It's one of the tabs. And let me explain merits at a very high level. Merits is the equivalent of a leveling system for Blackout, right? So you earn merits for kills. You get 10 merits for every kill. And then you also earn merits for how well you did. So a solo game, if you place in the top 15, you get 50. In a duo game, if you place in the top 10, you get 50. And then in quads, I believe it's top 5, you get 50. So the way to rank